Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of Boomer and Junior. I'm Boomer.
And I'm Junior.
Welcome back to voice crack. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. Zach, how we feeling today? How we doing?
Oh man, I'm feeling tired right now if I'm being honest. I had a busy morning. I went for a run, a little bit of a walk, went surfing, that terrible SoCal life that I'm living right now.
Zach
but
lives
had a
in
good
misery.
weekend of watching
Zach
football
lives
and
in
stuff.
misery.
How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great, pal. Yeah, folks, if you can't tell, Zach's living that really miserable, tough Southern California life where he just sits out in the sun, goes surfing it whenever he wants to. Zach lives in Pacific Beach, and that part of town is just glorious from the few times that I've visited, and I'm very jealous. My weekend was good, pal. Had a lot of great football yesterday, caught up with some friends. Got to see some family this weekend, and I'm right back here with you to talk some football, man. So, yeah, overall good weekend.
Good stuff. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. Our first matchup, Louisville at Miami this past Friday night. Nick.
Yeah, man. Happy to take that one, yeah. Dude, I love me some Canes going down. I love me some, whether that's the Raising Canes kind or the Miami Canes kind. I love seeing them go down. 4 interceptions, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 interceptions for Carson Beck this weekend, all right? No touchdowns. I saw a lot of comments. Oh, by the way, I glanced over the score. Louisville, unranked Louisville, going into Miami and winning 24-21 against number 2 Miami. Let's just say, Jeff Brohm spoils yet another number 2 ranked program in the country. He did it at Purdue. Multiple times. We saw that against Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, and he's doing that again at Louisville. Dude's got it. That team is rocking. I just finally love to see that Carson Beck is exposed for what he truly is, and that is low-key a fraud. I might get a lot of heat for that, but still. I loved seeing this one go down Friday night. Loved seeing the Cardinals come out with the win. Big game, huge upset, obviously, to kick off the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's really a testament to maybe the offense being built in Georgia around the quarterback, because Carson Beck obviously had some great success there. And he's honestly been doing pretty well at Miami, too. However, in this game, 4 interceptions and 0 touchdowns, clearly struggling a bit for him personally there. So that was a pretty tough scene. Now, Nick, the real question here is, you're talking about, Hurricanes, Raising Canes. Would you rather watch the Hurricanes get demolished or you yourself demolish a box combo?
Oh, that's tough, pal. Oh, that was tough. Wait, why'd you put me on the spot like that? Oh, God. Actually, low-key, I'm going to sound crazy for this. I would love to see Miami lose any day of the week, man. I feel like I love Canes enough. I love Canes enough to go out and get it. I don't eat it that often, but, I love nothing more than for Miami to, just go down. I've always hated that program. Hate is a strong word, but I've always disliked that program. And seeing this happen Friday night just made my heart happy.
Fair enough. And hey, for the record, everyone, we are not sponsored by Raising Canes. That was just an ad-lib joke. We are nowhere near big enough for that yet. So, in case
but what if we were Canes?
Unless they want.
But unless they want to. If you want to send us some, if you want to talk to us, slide up in our DM.
I'd rather give a shout out every episode if it gets me a free box combo a week.
Oh my God, the dream.
For sure, yeah. Anyways, moving on to a game that made me really sad this weekend. We had the Michigan State Spartans going into Bloomington and playing the number 3 ranked Hoosiers, falling 38-13, which was a bit of a bummer. I will say, though, obviously upset with the final score. However, the first half, and particularly the first 20, 25 minutes of the game, Michigan State had a pretty good effort. I think they were up 10-7 at the end of the first quarter, too, or early second quarter. So, first bit, they were showing some good effort and stuff, which was good to see a rebound from the UCLA smackdown that was placed on them the previous week. But IU, Kurt Cignetti had some rumors floating around him with the Penn State job in play. But now, got that 8-year, $93 million extension signed and just got back to business, beating the heck out of other teams and stuff in the Big Ten. Big win for IU.
Dude, yeah, I was the one I feel bad. I put this one on this week's outline. I wasn't sure if Zach wanted to talk about it or not. That one's on me. But yeah, man, Cignetti's got that team cooking. We've talked about it week in, week out. They're hungry to go beyond what they did last year, right? And so I'm not surprised that Sig's got that entire team cooking. I'm hoping for an upset down the road in their season. Don't know if that's likely, but yeah, man. Next game of the week, big one in the SEC. That it turned out to be a big one in the SEC out of nowhere, but number 4 Texas A&M, I guess almost going down to Arkansas at Arkansas. Aggies pulling out in really close fashion and win 45-42. Like, what the heck was that scoreline? Yeah, I put this down as one of my notes. I said the broken down Hogs still have some fight in them, and I think it's pretty valid. Obviously, losing their head coach 3 games into the season will rock any team, right? But I think it's good to see that program is still, they still got some fight in within them, this year. Marcel Reed, great game, 3 touchdowns, 280 in the air, 55 on the ground, 1 rushing touchdown. Had a great game. Marcel's getting really, really comfy in that offense. And I think I know a lot of A&M folks, like obviously both that follow us, but also just in real life, they're like, I'm waiting for that, I'm waiting for A&M to fall. I'm hoping they don't. I'm hoping they keep making a push in the SEC. They're still undefeated. They're one of a couple teams that are still undefeated on the year. Man, I'm really hoping that A&M can really. If I had to root for a team in the SEC this year, I'm going with A&M. Like I want that to happen. But that's just my take.
I'm right with you. Yeah, Texas A&M would be a great team to see. Finally climb that ladder, get into the CFP, maybe make a bit of a run. If an SEC team had to win the championship this year, I think that'd probably be my most preferred team, I guess you could say. Yeah, clearly, like you said, Marcel Reed, offense had a great performance per usual for them, but the defense leaving some signs of concern. It's one thing when you give up, I think it was 40 points to Notre Dame in South Bend.
Yeah.
Or was that in South Bend or at Kyle Field?
It was in South Bend.
Yeah, in South Bend. It's another when you give up 42 to Arkansas, even if it is in Fayetteville. So a little bit of concerns there for Mike Elko's defense, but hey, a win is a win. They move on. Top 5 team looking pretty good this year. So shout out to
Giga Mags, man. Yeah. Giga Mags.
Moving on, we got going over to Group of 5 with the American Conference. Number 22 and at the time undefeated Memphis went in to play UAB and lost 31-24. UAB pulling out the upset there. This was huge. Yeah. I've been a big proponent. I love the Group of 5. Want to see them make some noise and stuff and kind of keep that gap between them and the Power 4 as minimal as possible. And the American looked like a really possible shot of maybe getting 2 teams into the CFP. However, this is a major dash to those hopes. Memphis now unranked. Only 2 undefeated teams left in conference play. I think they're still going to end up having a team represented in the playoffs, and that team could do well. However, multi-bid league, not really looking to be in the picture at this point. So, American's going to cannibalize itself, I guess, is the summary there.
Yeah, it's fair. And I think for our listeners at home that don't know Zach and I very well from a personal standpoint, Zach does have, this is collegiate basketball that I'm about to reference, but Zach doesn't really love the University of Memphis from a collegiate level. That's for other reasons, right, Zachy?
I have, and we'll get into this in basketball season, I have, for some reason, developed a vendetta for Penny Hardaway right as he started entering and coaching at Memphis, and he has done nothing but do more and more to justify that vendetta as we go throughout it. So we'll talk about that more as we get to college basketball, which we will be talking about soon here with some secret scrimmages and stuff happening, all that jazz. But
we got some exhibition games coming up here pretty soon. We got some exhibition games coming up.
Yes, sir, we do. Yeah, exciting stuff. So
good stuff. Purdue plays for this weekend, by the way.
Anyways, back to college football. Yeah, moving on. Back
to the best. Back into some SEC action. We had number 5 Ole Miss going into Athens, Georgia. Big offensive, shout out, big game. Ole Miss falling just short, 35-42. Kirby Smart gets this one over Lane Kiffin in Athens. Ole Miss takes the first L. They're no longer undefeated. Gunnar Stockton, man, I think he's the big one to talk about in this game. He just looked so comfy playing. He had a lot of good stats. Almost 300 yards in the air. Had a rushing touchdown, 4 touchdowns in the air. I think the big thing I want to call it, something that's funny, is there's a lot of chirping back and forth between the head coaches this week. Lane threw the first punch against Kirby. Well, he made a joke something about calorie intake or something like that, taking a shot at obviously Kirby's figure. And then when they won, people probably seen this by now, but Lane posted a picture with these two women after a hot yoga class, shirtless, by the way, shouting them out for a good workout. And then Kirby goes, and I thought this was hilarious. I respect Kirby Smart, but I think this was so funny. He goes, yeah, thanks to Lane for those free hot yoga class passes. I really appreciate that. And just walks off his press conference. Like, it was the best. It was the best. It was so funny. Ole Miss take the L in Athens. I realized I just blew Zach's mind.
I hadn't seen that. Yeah. That's insane. I love that.
Zach, you would love it. You would love. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Ole Miss take the L. Unfortunately, I actually was kind of rooting for Ole Miss this year, and I still kind of am. But they're just—it's that classic Ole Miss of like, and then they just crash back down, right? And so they're gonna have to do some regrouping on the defense there. But also, Athens is not an easy environment to play in. And so, yeah.
No, sir. Yeah, they're definitely still alive for the playoff. Both of those teams have one loss on the season still now, both in SEC play. Yeah, they both are very well. They can control their own destiny to make it into the CFP. So, obviously, SEC, bit of a gauntlet, so not going to be easy, but both are definitely well equipped to do so. Also, I just want to make 100%. One quick note here. Yeah, I think we talked about Gunnar Stockton's great game, 5 total touchdowns, stuff like that. Just the latest case of what I like to call Stetson Bennett syndrome. I just came up with that right now. But kind of we talked about Carson Beck playing well at Georgia before, and then, going to Miami, maybe that playing as well.
Very true.
I don't even want to make this be as much about dissing the quarterbacks as I do just, again, how great of a program Kirby Smart has built. Frankly, Georgia wasn't that great at all when you and I were growing up. I mean, I had some good seasons, stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean, he really made them into a powerhouse as of late, though. So yeah, really a testament more so to him and the offense that he's built there.
Those dogs, man. Those dogs.
Yeah. Sticking in the SEC, going over to an overtime matchup, we had number 21 Texas playing at Kentucky, winning in overtime 16-13. Now,
this is wild.
This may seem kind of fair or whatever, I mean. Yeah, on the road in SEC, never easy. Texas obviously underperforming a bit so far in the year. However, I wanted to bring this up because I watched this game, and wow, huge goal line stand in overtime. So Kentucky got the ball to start overtime, went down right away, got first and goal, I think, on the first play, and then they had a 4th and goal from inside the 1-yard line and chose to go for it. And that Texas defense, that stout Texas defense, got to stop, which allowed them to just kick a field goal and get the win in the end of overtime there. So, Arch regressed a bit from how he was playing last week in the Red River rivalry. I think he was like below 50% completion percentage, but clearly enough to get the job done for Texas and their playoff hopes stay alive.
Yeah, man, I think the common theme with this team and this Texas team is just that Arch needs way more time to develop, man. This is going to be a developing season for him. It's going to take a punch to his ego. It's going to take a punch to the team, honestly, like just based on expectations for this year. Obviously come out with the dub against Kentucky, but like you said, regress a little bit from the Red Rivalry game, right? I mean, they went against an Oklahoma team that was, a little bit, they were hurt, right? They were hurt, didn't have much. They didn't have as much of a team as they did coming into the season, but get the dub on the road, keep moving, I guess, man. Yeah, man. And this is so funny, the number of SEC games we're covering this week, because Zach and we're Big Ten guys, and like when we started this podcast, we're like, we're not gonna have an SEC like majority or whatever, but we're sticking in SEC action here. My next game is number 16 Mizzou, going on the road to Auburn and winning 23-17. This is a double overtime game. Lots of action, but Mizzou still proving that they're in it. I don't know what's going on with college football anymore, quite frankly, with Mizzou being ranked and doing well. I don't know, but I'm also not questioning it because I like to see some chaos. Mizzou keeps going, man. Prabula threw 2 picks in this game, but at the same time, got the job done, right? Got the job done, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Mizzou's still having that pretty hot season overall so far. Would love to see them make the playoffs. They're looking really good, yeah.
That'd be insane, but yeah.
We are going to, however, jump out of SEC territory, at least for a little bit here, and go over to the showdown in Utah, the Holy War. We had Utah playing at BYU in Provo. First of all, Nick, I don't know if you were able to watch this game or not, but something that always blows my mind with this game is just the gorgeous view outside of BYU Stadium.
It's beautiful, dude. It's beautiful,
Yeah,
man.
it truly is. Yeah, so that's just great atmosphere. It seems like a really good setup for a really great college football rivalry. And in this one,
Yeah,
we had BYU, the home team, taking the 24-21 victory in Utah. I don't have a ton of notes on this game other than that it was a really close one overall. There was never more than a 7-point margin in it, and it was back and forth a bit. So, Bear Bachmeier, elite name. BYU
cool
quarterback
name.
was able to get them to victory. I think he had a touchdown through the air and the ground, and not as high scoring as maybe I expected in this matchup, but a good tight one nonetheless.
Yeah, man. Yeah, love it. I mean, you brought up a good point, man. Provo's got that insane view, dude. Utah's beautiful. Like, Utah's beautiful. Yeah. Shout out BYU, man. We're going to swap right back into the SEC. We're going to talk about the third Saturday in October. We had Tennessee going into Tuscaloosa. Unfortunately, number 11 Tennessee falling 20-37 against the Tide. Bama really just way too OP against a team like this. They're really, really getting into their strides here, this Bama team. DeBoer's finally found a rhythm. Ever since they lost against FSU in week 1, they really switched things around, man. I didn't get to watch this game personally, but I was keeping up with it. And, like, Bama finishing this one in pretty powerful fashion, I will say. Just, like, didn't really give up anything, had that game in their hands. Yeah, good one.
Yeah. And then I guess back to the Big 12, we're flip-flopping around a bit there. We had number 7 Texas Tech playing in Tempe at Arizona State, unranked Arizona State, falling 26-22 to the Sun Devils. So Arizona State handed Texas Tech their first loss of the season. Unbeaten no more. The Red Raiders go down. And ASU really puts a dent in Texas Tech's playoff hopes here.
Yeah.
Texas Tech looked like the front runner from the Big 12 by far, and they still, I think, are leading that race. However, definitely losing some separation there. This was a big win, too, for Arizona State, who had a great season last year, obviously made the college football playoff. Just been kind of a disappointing year so far. They've got 2 losses, so they're still in the hunt a little bit to try to make the CFP. But if nothing else, from a morale perspective, this was a big win.
Yeah, man, I love the Red Raiders. I was so happy when I saw that they were unbeaten in the top 10. When I found out they were losing to Arizona State, I was like, shoot. And then when I found out, go on.
I'll say a quick note, too. The Texas Tech starting quarterback and another couple of key starters were injured and out for this game. So...
I mean, hey, still putting up 22 points is impressive.
Yeah.
Still putting up 22 points with your backups, that's pretty cool. We're gonna have to see how this team shakes out. I'm hoping for Big 12, for the Big 12, I'm hoping Texas Tech still comes out, probably high up there, if not winning it out. But yeah, man, Texas Tech, Red Raiders go down. All right, I promise. This is the last time we're shifting into the SEC, but we had a really big, huge game, all right, that we wanted to cover. Number 10 LSU going into Nashville to play number 17 Vandy and losing 24-31. Brian Kelly, what happened? As everyone has probably heard about this, I've grown up in a Notre Dame family, and we do not like Brian Kelly whatsoever.
As someone who grew up in a Michigan State family that does not like Notre Dame, we also do not like Brian Kelly.
We'll take it. Close enough. No, literally, Diego Pavia, dog. Literally, what a dog. And I think it's a testament to this Vandy team that they're really just they're hungry to prove themselves. Like Pavia, obviously losing against Bama, but coming back to show it, show the world really what he's about. I think he's up there in the running for the Heisman, if I'm not wrong.
I think he's.
I don't know if
in
he's
the picture. Yeah.
In the pictures at least. And so that's another thing too. I don't know who, side tangent, I don't know who's going to win the Heisman this year. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, I love, ever since Joe Burrow left and that entire team, basically switched up from, Coach O, go Tigers, I do not like LSU. And so seeing them lose against Vandy, Brian Kelly, what a fraud. Love to see this happen.
Yeah. Good note on the Heisman stuff. I think there was a lot of odds movement I saw after this past weekend. I think maybe when the dust settles, we can go over it in next week's episode because, it's been a major shakeup. I know like the top 5 front runners going into the season are nowhere near the picture, I believe. So that'd be maybe a thing to cover. But yeah, I didn't watch the entirety of this game. However, talk about Diego Pavia having a great game. Part of what I did watch was I think they were up a little bit, but they were in LSU territory, but like 20 yards out or something like that. He's looking to throw, and nobody's open, so he just tucked it, ran. I mean, and there's 20 yards to the end zone, pretty far distance. You'd think a defensive back could maybe go over and catch or something like that, but he was not to be caught. He just got it in there, just sheer will and determination out of that young man. He can be a bit off-putting at times and stuff like that with some off-the-field antics. However, it's just he does great on the football field, and shout out to him. And the
backs it up, dude. Backs it up, man. Yeah, backs it up.
Moving over to a couple of other highly rated institutions. I guess LSU doesn't fit in the same category as Vandy and these next 2 teams, but Georgia Tech playing at Duke. The number 12 undefeated Georgia Tech team, winning at Duke 27-18. Now, I'm a big fan of Georgia Tech. I like to see what they're doing, stuff like that. Haynes King and Jamal Hayes, good offensive duo there at quarterback and running back. They've been on thin ice this year, though. They won in like double overtime or single overtime against Wake Forest a couple weeks ago. This game, they were tied at 10 with Duke entering the 4th quarter. So ended up getting, a double possession, win. However, still, though, not really getting a lot of separation. So we'll see if this Yellow Jackets team is able to, I guess, pick it up a bit more getting towards the end of the season here. But right now, they are 7-0 so far this year. They are better in conference play. They're number 1 in the ACC right now, now that Miami's fallen. So, we'll see. I think that's a good chance we could see this Yellow Jackets team in the playoff. I think that'd be really fun.
I'd love to see that. And you brought up a good point about them and sort of like starting to get on thin ice. I think the sort of like duration of the season is starting to show for them. I think like obviously we're getting into some like deep territory in the regular season, and a lot of teams struggle to keep up the momentum, right? And so I think GT's gonna have to rally. They obviously got the dub this week. Let's see how far they can go. I do think they have a good shot in terms of winning out in the ACC. It's a matter of if they can obviously beat the Canes, right? And so we'll see, man. Yeah.
One last note I want to insert for this game. Sorry, one last note I want to insert.
No, you're good.
So, Georgia Tech is 7-0 to start the year, like I mentioned. This is also their first 7-game win streak in over a decade and a half. I believe it was 2009 I saw was the last time they had a 7-game win streak. So, they're
I think
there. Just wanted to.
I think in 2009 I was in the 3rd grade, and so that says a lot about how we've changed as people in a society.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was Calvin Johnson on Georgia Tech still when that happened?
Nah, he would have been probably before that.
Yeah, he might have. I think it was like Demarius Thomas there. Maybe I think one of those 2 guys was maybe there. It seems like they were 7-0, but maybe I'll fact check that for next week. But I'm guessing one of those 2 were there. But
hey, man, go GT. True. Our last game of the week. Arguably, I think we talked about this last week, and Zach dropped a TikTok about this. One of like the bigger games of the week. I promise you, I'm leaving my bias out of this. Actually, I'm not. But number 20 USC, the Trojans going into South Bend to play number 13 Notre Dame, and the Irish take the dub, 34-24. Let's go Irish. Jordan Maeva, I will say props to this guy. When he played Purdue, it was pretty apparent this guy is a weapon in the air. He proved that time and time again. I will say Notre Dame, there was a combo of what hurt Notre Dame this game, all right? It's a combination of, I will say the refs, there was a lot of late PI calls that were like, we're talking like egregiously late, but also there were a lot of play calls made by the coaches that had me really questioning stuff. Like there was a 4th and 15 drive that I was watching this game with my dad, and we were both just like, it was 4th and 15, it was long, and I was like, why are we even snapping this ball right now when it should have just been a punt?
What did they win for on a 4th and 15?
4th and 15. Granted, I think field position was like, I think they were in USC territory. I could be wrong. And it also was in like the 3rd quarter. It wasn't even like first half. No, it was, 4th and 15, they went for it, didn't get it. Turnover on downs. I will say though, offense pulled it off. Big shout outs to the running backs this game, man. Love coming out with 228 yards just on the ground. Jadarian Price, kickoff return, 100 yards from the house.
I saw that one. That was electric. And it was right after a USC score. USC had just gotten some momentum.
Literally, they had just gone up like 24-20, and then 100 yards to the house. It was beautiful to watch. As I always say, let's go Irish.
Yeah, this was huge. This was by far the hardest game left on Notre Dame's schedule. We've talked about this with the 2 losses already. This was big, assuming they win out, which they really should. They should be likely into the playoff picture, which was definitely not looking like a certainty after their first 2 games of the year.
Dude.
So, shout out to the Irish, and honestly too, it's not even. So I'm a disliker of both USC and Notre Dame. However, with how Notre Dame's played, I think they have earned a spot, assuming again that they win out and it's not like really close games. They look like one of the top 12 teams in the country. They look really good. I think just as the team continues to improve, CJ Carr continues to develop, I think it's going to be a really tough team to play in the CFP. So, shout out to the Irish.
Shout out to the Irish. I think CJ's he's still having a lot of those, like, his only mistakes this year really just like him being a rookie quarterback and him having to learn. But he's learning quick. He's learning quick, and he's being smart on the ball. And I think it's just a matter of, can you keep that up? And so, yeah, man. Big game. Go Irish.
Yeah. All right. That ends our recap of this past week's games. Then we'll move us over to our next segment, which is Boomer's Bold Take. So, Boomer, hit us with it. What's your bold take?
I love giving everyone knowledge every week. I love dropping knowledge, whether it's smart or dumb. And my bold take this week, focusing on a team in the ACC we touched on briefly today, Louisville. And my bold take for the week is, don't be surprised if Louisville sneaks their way into the playoffs, all right? Their only loss this season so far was by 3 to Virginia in overtime, all right? Don't get me wrong, Virginia's also looking good. But Brohm, when he's got that team set up the right way, they can go take down, I mean, they proved it this past weekend with Miami, right? They can take down anyone. So my theory, and I don't know how strong it is, but I think that Louisville has I think they've got what it takes to make it in the playoffs. Now, if they make it in the playoffs, I'm not going to say they're going to make a deep run, but they could like be a sneaky ACC contender, man. That's what I'm calling.
Yeah, I mean that seems fair. Losing to a tough Virginia team. Honestly, the ACC as a whole is looking like they've got a top few batch of teams, which at this point, based off of the first week of the season, surprisingly doesn't include Florida State. But Georgia Tech, Miami, Louisville, Virginia, you got 4 teams that all have a pretty realistic shot at making the playoff. I think ACC, after only having ACC did get 2 last year. They had SMU and Clemson get in. But the ACC's got 4 teams that all have a shot. I don't think all 4 will make it, but 2, maybe 3 bids going to the Atlantic Coast Conference could be crazy. So,
yeah, man, go Cards, big stuff.
Yeah, Jeff Brohm, that Spoilermaker DNA.
Shout the Spoilermakers. Enough about me. Let's move on to our next section. It's Junior's Jumbo Stat of the Week. We all love hearing Junior's numbers. So, the Junior, what's the number of this week, pal?
I'm actually doing 2 this week, and I want to preface this first one here as an absolute sicko stat. However, I'm a college football sicko, so I will be sharing it here. We're going down to D3 college football. That's right. Not FCS, not D2, D3 college football, where Curry College running back Monty Quinn set an NCAA record by rushing for 522 yards in a game this past weekend.
Holy shit.
522 yards. Now, I mean, obviously that's a lot, but if you just put that in perspective, say the average drive starts on the 25-yard line with a touchback or whatever, that's going to be like 25. 7 whole drives of just rushing yards right there. You do 75, 75 times 7 right there. I mean, that's crazy.
Close to 8,
that's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, shout out to Monty Quinn. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him hit the transfer portal, maybe move up a little bit. We'll see. But, yeah, it was a pretty cool stat I just wanted to share for an NCAA record. And then moving on to our more mainstream stat, I guess. Number is 1947. And this is really more of a year or like a date than a stat. But this was the last time the Vanderbilt Commodores football program was ranked in the AP top 10 for college football.
Holy crap.
1947. Think about that. That was closer to when the university was founded in 1873 than to present day.
Jeez.
So, yeah, Commodores have had a pretty troubled history, I guess, in football. Some good success here and there. But, wow, I mean, getting that, top 10 ranking for the first time in a long time. Shout out to them. Diego Pavia doing a great job.
I think 1947, my grandma was 7 years old, dude. That's insane. Like, that's nuts. Hey, man, go Vandy. Go off.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, that'll conclude the stats of the week. We'll go on to the playoff impact game of the week now, or games of the week now. We have a few less than usual this week. Not as much crazy stuff going on, but we'll start off with number 8 Ole Miss at number 13 Oklahoma. Junior, you want to talk? Boomer, sorry. Want to talk about that one?
We're getting our names mixed up. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, like Zach said, not that many picks this week for playoff impact games of the week. When we were setting this up, we're like, we're hitting that point in the season where there's a lot of like different matchups. But I went out and I picked number 8 Ole Miss at number 13 Oklahoma. These are two teams that are hungry for a win right now. Obviously, Ole Miss coming off the L against Georgia this past week, and Oklahoma losing against Texas last week in the Red River rivalry. These are two teams in the SEC that are still looking very strong. Like Ole Miss, obviously in a better position than Oklahoma to make the playoffs, but Oklahoma is still hungry. Can John Mateer bounce back to what he was before the injury? I think is going to be a big question on the Oklahoma side. Can Lane Kiffin keep momentum going beyond the Georgia game is going to be the big question on the Ole Miss side. And so I like this game. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be one that I'm going to watch. And so, yeah, man, big one coming up this weekend.
Absolutely, it is a big one, yeah. Moving on then to number 3 Texas A&M at number 20 LSU. Number 3 Texas A&M, we've talked about him. Little surprised they're still undefeated at this point, but great job though by the Aggies, just taking care of everyone they put along the way. Even if it is some close wins at times, like 1 at Notre Dame and 3 at Arkansas, but still though a win is a win. Playing in the Bayou, playing at number 20 LSU. LSU, a couple losses on the year. This is do or die for them. They lose this game, this home game, I think they're out of the playoff picture for sure. But however, on the other hand, if they do get this win over this undefeated A&M squad, this will definitely put them back on the map and bring them back into the picture. So we'll see. I do think A&M is going to get this win. I just don't have faith in Brian Kelly, and I do believe Marcel Reed is the truth. But we'll see. They play the games for a reason.
Not to stir the pot, man, but I think if LSU loses this game, there's going to be a lot of questions asked about Brian Kelly. I mean, James Franklin did a lot at Penn State and still lost his job a few weeks into the season. I'm gonna be honest. Like Brian Kelly's really not done that much at LSU. I think a lot of the boosters and that athletic program is gonna be asking questions about Brian Kelly. I'm not saying he's gonna get fired because I don't think he's gonna get fired, but at the same time, there are gonna be some conversations going on.
The seat is probably gonna officially be hot, I would say.
I agree. I think that temperature is gonna go up a little bit. Having talked about that one, our next pick for this week is number 15 Mizzou at number 10 Vandy. Two of the teams that have historically been not that great in the SEC find themselves ranked and also going against each other to probably be one of the top picks in the SEC coming out of this year. And so I wouldn't say it's do or die for either of these teams. I will say it's probably closer to it's going to make it a lot harder for them to make it in the playoffs, whoever loses this one. Mizzou's obviously going to want to try and make a statement. Vandy's going to want to keep their momentum going with Pavia on the offense. But also, you never know, man. Pabula's got that offense cooking in Mizzou. So it's going to be a road game for Mizzou. Vandy's obviously going to have the home advantage. So we'll see. It's going to be a good game in the SEC.
Yeah, both of these teams with one loss. The winner of this game will for sure be looking a bit more cemented in the picture. Obviously, not solidified fully for the playoff, but definitely in a much better position.
For sure, dude. For sure.
And then lastly, going to the group of 5. We've been covering USF like crazy, and I'm obsessed with the American Conference this year. We got number 18 USF at Memphis. Now, both of these teams have one loss on the season. USF's coming out of conference play at Miami. This is big. This is huge. Winner of this game, I think, is going to be my pick to win the American and represent in the college football playoff. They just seem like two really great squads. Memphis obviously let me down a little bit this past week at UAB. And I do think USF is probably going to win this game. They just seem like a really great squad overall. Can't really fault them for losing in Miami.
Putting up points, yeah.
So, we'll see what happens, but definitely looking pretty good to get that 5th playoff automatic berth for the winner of this game.
Yeah, I just knew you were going to go with the USF pick for this week. I liked it. I didn't even look at that part of our outline, but I just was like, he's going to go with USF for his pick, isn't he?
I like me my Bulls. What can I say?
Go Bulls, man.
They're green,
Bulls.
so it just fits with the Michigan State thing.
Go Bulls. All right, folks. We're going to transition to our last segment of the week, and that's Boomer Junior Blitz. Zachy, what do you got?
All right, starting off. Boy, have I done a turnaround here. We got UCLA playing at number 2 Indiana in Bloomington. I'm going to take UCLA plus 24.5 here. You know, you can say UCLA has been cooling down a little bit. You know, they just barely scraped by Maryland this past weekend. However, Jerry Neuheisel, I still believe in him leading that offense pretty strongly. And Indiana is absolutely the real deal. I don't see a situation where IU doesn't win this game. However, if Michigan State, who got smoked at home by UCLA a couple weeks ago, can lose by only 25 at IU this past weekend, I sure as heck think UCLA can lose by 24 or less. So that's my take there for the Bruins.
I think that's a good pick, dude. I think that's a good pick. I think, you know, they obviously I think that UCLA team is really turned around on offense. Nico's looking a lot better. As a player, he's looking a lot better. He's looking like a lot like he did back in Tennessee. Still agree with you on that. I think IU is going to take the dub on this. Would love to see an upset UCLA, but I still think Indiana's going to take this one. And I like that. I like that pick. My first pick for Blitz is the Northwestern at Nebraska game. I'm actually going with Northwestern plus 7.5, but I'm going beyond that. I'm going Northwestern to win. Northwestern just demolished Purdue 19-0 in Evanston. Don't get me wrong, Purdue's not doing anything special this year, but Nebraska is being Nebraska. Just like a lot to hype and just not showing up for it, right? I think if Northwestern plays their cards right and they use their offense really well like they have been this entire time, they're going to give them the business, I think. And I think Northwestern actually are going to come out with the dub. It's not going to be that big. It's not going to be that pretty. It might be by just a score or two, or like a score or a score and a half. But I'm calling Northwestern in this game, man.
Yeah, Nebraska was showing some signs of greatness. They were ranked this past week and then crumbled at Minnesota. So that's fair. It seems like the Cornhuskers just have a gene in them that just doesn't let them quite punch through where they need to go. So, yeah.
Dylan Rayola is a fraud. Let's move on.
Anyways, after talking about baby Patrick Mahomes there, I'm going. My next game is NC State at Pitt. I watched NC State play a pretty nice Friday night game earlier this year, and I really liked what I saw to them. They got C.J. Bailey at quarterback, Hollywood Smothers at running back, really elite duo offensively. I like them plus 7.5 at Pitt. Pitt's been meh times this year, and I really like what I've seen out of NC State. So, I'm going to take them and the 7.5 points.
I like that. I like that one a lot. I think NC State's got what it takes. My next pick for Blitz is the Mizzou-Vandy game. Now, we talked a little bit about this in Playoff Impact Games of the Week, but I actually am going with Mizzou's technically an underdog in this game. I think that's only because Vandy's at home, but we're pretty much like Blitz. We were talking about this. This is like a big set of upsets that we're going with. I'm calling Mizzou to upset the Vandy at home. I think Pabula on his best day could take on any team in the SEC, and so I'm hoping for that to happen next week in Nashville. We'll see, but I'm calling Mizzou.
All right. This next one.
It's ridiculous, but go on, Zach.
I've had my tail between my legs for the last few weeks. I was riding high on the Michigan State wave to start the season after they beat Boston College. Obviously, things have not been going according to plan, though. Currently 3-4 on the year. This week, the Michigan Wolverines, the number 25 ranked Michigan Wolverines, head to East Lansing and play in Spartan Stadium for a 7:30 night game. Spread's showing MSU plus 14.5 right now. And I'm going to call my shot here. Michigan State will cover this. I hope they're going to win. I don't know if they will or not. Michigan State will cover the spread, though, and that's my Zach guarantee of the week. I'll do something stupid. Maybe I'll wear my UCLA shirt again or something like that. Because that's I guess that's kind of Michigan colors. I'll wear that next week. We'll say for now. I should have planned a punishment.
Oh, I say if they don't cover this, I say you wear something dark like Michigan blue next week for the pod.
All right, I can do that.
Okay.
I'm putting my money where my mouth is, or my pride where my mouth is. I guess. I just I'm not gonna be delusional enough to say it's a certainty Michigan State is gonna win this game. but the fight they gave against IU gave me some renewed hope.
Yeah.
I think after losing at Michigan last year, I think the new kind of group of players that are in the program kind of have a feel for the rivalry now, and they're going to be a bit more motivated. And they also played decently in that game at times too. That was still back when Aiden Child was turning the ball over like it was going out of style. And so he's gotten a lot better though at holding on to the football. I think State's going to cover this spread. I think it's going to be a fairly low-scoring game. I don't think Michigan's going to put up that many points. And based off Michigan State's offense, they're going to need to hold Michigan, even though their defense isn't great. But anyways, long story short, long-winded answer, MSU plus 14.5 hosting the number 25 Wolverines.
I'm actually going to go double down on Zach's solution. Boomer's Bold Take Part 2 of the week. I think MSU's going to come out with the win. I think MSU is going to come out with the win in this one. I was thinking about this as Zach was saying this. They're going into East Lansing. They've got, at times, MSU has proved they've got what it takes. And I think, now don't get me wrong, they're doing well, but they're not doing as well as anyone thought they'd be this year. And so, on their best night, Michigan State could pull this off. So I'm going to double down on that. I think I'm going to go way harder than Zach is. I think MSU could actually pull off the upset.
Yeah, Joe Rossi, our defensive coordinator, is coaching for his job right now, as well as Jonathan Smith, our head coach. I think we're gonna see a lot of interesting different schemes on defense, new play calls that haven't been seen before on offense. I think they're going to be throwing the book at them, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. All right. Our last pick of Blitz this week, and my last pick for Blitz, is number 11 BYU going into Iowa State. It's some Big 12 action. I'm going to shift a little bit away from our sort of like upset picks we've been picking this entire time, but I think Iowa State, they're favored at home to win. I'm thinking Rocco Beck's going to want some. I think he's looked so well this season, but the Iowa State just, like, that team hasn't been able to capitalize. I think he's going to want to turn that around now, and I think this is the game that he does it. I think Iowa State's going to beat the number 11th ranked team in the country, man. I'm calling Iowa State to win by 2.5 at least, if not more.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see how small this line was, right? Or that Iowa State was favored. I thought BYU, this would be about an even line, or that BYU might be favored.
Same.
So, yeah, we'll see. Clearly, Vegas is maybe leaning towards you with Rocco Beck. I will say, Nick, I think you to Rocco Beck is like me to USF or the American Conference as a whole. Kind of our homies for the year.
100%. Yeah. I love what Rocco Beck's got going on, man. Yeah. I love that kid. I think he's got what it takes.
As you should. He looks great. Yeah, absolutely.
Looks good, man. He looks good.
All right, that'll wrap us up for our Boomer Junior Blitz of the week. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in and listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure, if you have any questions or feedback for us, make sure to hit our email, officialboomerandjunior@gmail.com, as well as follow us on social media. We got TikTok, we got Instagram, we got Facebook. We're posting stuff on YouTube Shorts. We got some fun extra content there. Just some good goofy stuff going on, so make sure you
check us out
too. Absolutely.
Check us out. It's great to see everybody. Have a great week, everyone.
See y'all.
Bye. Bye, guys.